Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it is Your Impact Attack, where all the attacks and the impacts and the impacts of the attacks and the attacks of the impacts are here, and we're here to hold on to them and curate them for you because it's yours after all, and we wouldn't have it any other way. But who is we in this scenario? We is myself, Jamie Williams, my tag team partner, Brandon. And Brandon, we got a lot to talk about this week, none of which is like new Impact news because the news is the impacts. So how are you, first of all?
I am doing super, sir. Thank you for asking. How are you doing?
Oh man, just couldn't be better. Just can't wait. I love wrestling, Brandon, and I can't wait to talk about it. It's
Oh
my
yeah.
favorite thing. What about you?
Oh man, can't wait to get to this great Impact Wrestling and the great decisions they make, and yeah.
So great. So great. Absolutely great. Well, we will get to those great decisions that are great pretty shortly here. First, we're going to do what we like to do and acknowledge the people that are here with us to partake in this greatness. So who do we have so far?
All right, looks like we got hanging out with us right now. We got Elizabeth, we got Javi Uchida, and we got Lab Rat. How you guys doing tonight? Whoop whoop.
Yep, that's right. We got three. These are like some of the pillars of the Impact Attack chat, if we could say. So yeah, like I said, not like.
Oh yeah, breaking news. That's like just went down.
What does that say? I can't. It says.
BJ Whitner, guys, is fired from AEW.
Oh my God! Fired from AEW
For apparently, or what AEW is saying is apparently he has been arrested for domestic violence.
Oh, I thought it was because he did a poor judging of the Ring of Honor Pure Title match. That I would have thought that was the reason why, but apparently not, huh? Well, nope. I'm sure most people out there in the world are sitting and saying to themselves right now, BJ Whitmer worked at AEW, and I'm sure probably even a few more people than that are saying, who? But you know, for us wrestling guys, we know BJ Whitmer as a longtime Ring of Honor guy. I don't really know what else to say. Maybe somebody else can clue me in. Maybe this is one of those Alex Shelley situations where I'm just not aware of all the wonderful contributions that BJ Whitmer has made to the professional wrestling business. And normally I would feel a little bit guilty to try to pull the old Who card on BJ Whitmer. But if he's guilty of domestic violence, there's those things that I don't give a fuck about respecting him. So, anyway, yeah, that's, oh shit. As Steve Egger says, am I not here? He is.
Okay. You're here.
Just making sure. At the time of the reading, though, I did not see your name, sir. Or Colin's name. But yeah. So, that's what's up. Yeah, I didn't see that news. I didn't see any other important Impact news other than results. But like I said, the news is the results, so we got to talk about an episode of Impact and, of course, your full coverage of Against All Odds, which, as I was watching it, I was realizing, like, Against All Odds is gambling themed. It's got, like, the background has, like, the little card suits, you know, like diamonds and clubs and stuff like that, and it's just like, and how is this not one of the many things that they taped from Las Vegas? Like this was in Cleveland, right, or some shit? Like what?
Yeah, right.
You can't even, something as simple as that, you can't even, but anyway. So yeah, well, if there's no objections, before we get to that, Brandon, do you have a punching up Impact for this week, meaning this past week?
I sure do, for this 6/1/23 edition of Impact.
All right, let's go ahead and put that in the corner and chop the shit out of it and make it sell.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and open the show with the Under Siege package, basically going over all the highlights of that show. Go to our intro and Pyro and Ballyhoo, and we open up with the in-ring. Bully Ray out first, music and entrance. He puts over what he did at Under Siege as well as his other accomplishments. He mentions that he has a business arrangement with Macklin. Macklin music and entrance with Shira and Singh. Singh puts over how they continue to destroy and demolish everything that's in their path. And he mentions how he was the one who financially brokered this new business arrangement. Macklin lays out how the four of them will carve a path of destruction so that it ends up with Macklin versus Bully Ray at Slammiversary. Motor City Machine Guns interrupts. Shelley cuts a promo on how they don't have to wait till against all odds. They can have a tag match of Bully and Macklin versus Motor City Machine Guns tonight. Santino makes the match official. Bully says, why wait? They all four of them leave the ring after the Motor City Machine Guns, and it ends up with them getting laid out before security comes out and stops the brawl. And then Santino orders a match of Singh and Shira against Decay on the spot, and he bans Macklin and Bully from ringside while trainers help Motor City Machine Guns to the back. And then we go to commercial.
Okay. All right. Starting off with hurting the Motor City Machine Guns. I'm a fan.
All right, and then we come back in the trainers' room backstage. Trainers aren't sure if they would clear the Motor City, clear them for the main event. However, they plead their case of how they just, they want to fight. Go to match number 1, Shira and Singh versus Decay. Shira and Singh are still in the ring from earlier. Decay music and entrance. Shira and Singh work together with the brain brawn psychology while still having Decay look strong, and Shira gets the pin on Tarus. And Shira and Singh put Steve on the announce table, and Shira power bombs Tarus on top of Steve. Then we go backstage to the locker room with Bully Ray and Macklin watching this all take place on the monitor and put over what Shira and Singh just got done. And then they'll finish the job later tonight with Motor City Machine Guns, whether or not they're cleared for the main event or not. Then we go to the pre-tape of Aldous and Jacob, same one that we saw on the show. Then we cut to the vignette of Killer Kelly, the same one that we saw on the show. And then match number 2 is Jody Threat versus Luna. Luna music and entrance, Threat music and entrance. Basically a shorter version of what we got with Threat over Strong. And then go into our second commercial break.
So we didn't solve the problem of why we have Luna here in this spot as opposed to some other, let's say enhancement lady or whatever, because now we just make, depending on what you have set up for the main event, we have this whole subculture thing, and they just look like high profile jobbers right now.
If I'm not really sure what their contract status is, that's why I kind of did it this way, is because they weren't at Against All Odds, and they weren't on the show before, on the Go Home show either. So I'm not really sure what they're doing with them, if they're doing anything with them at all. If there was just a one shot with doing the Under Siege and the next night.
I was gonna see what I would do if so. Like, let's say we were actually running this Impact as a partnership or whatever, and you gave me this format. What I would suggest is well, how about we scratch Jody Threat because we've seen enough of her, and then give Danny Luna a local to at least give Subculture something, and then if they don't come back, then it's here's a small taste of what you could get. With Danny Luna going over somebody, and Jody Threat can watch and be stroke her chin and whatever. Okay. You know what I mean? Something like that I think would probably be better in this case.
And I'd say let's go with that.
All right. Punching up the punching it. All right, let's go. What's next?
All right, so then let's see, where were we at? Okay, then we come back from our second commercial break. Backstage locker room with Deanna and Trinity. Talk about their tag team match Against All Odds. And Deanna mentions how she has Trinity's back tonight to even the playing field against Shaw and Jay. Then we go to another locker room where Shaw and company are at. They're watching the monitor of the conversation between Deanna and Trinity. They mention how they can use tonight to soften them both up for Against All Odds. Then we get to a new vignette of Brian Myers doing a learning tree with the Good Hands. He mentions tonight that he'll go one-on-one with Ace Austin and to give them pointers from his time as a tag team. Then we go to that match, number 3, Brian Myers versus Ace Austin. Brian Myers music and entrance with Good Hands. Ace Austin music and entrance with Chris Bay. Ace Austin over botched interference by the Good Hands. And Brian Myers scolds them after the match.
Now, does that entrance include their usual bullshit of saying something and running down the local town?
No, it's just Brian leading them and saying, "Quiet, watch what I do," and and just kind of instructing them to be quiet. The whole mouth shut, ears open.
Mm-hmm. All right.
All right, and then we go backstage to the trainer's room with Motor City Machine Guns. Trainers say that they're not sure if they'll clear them. Sully says he doesn't care. They get up and go. Then you go to a new Dango vignette, and this is one of those situations where it's like one of those things where just say, Dango, do your thing.
Right.
And then whatever you give us, we'll post.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to another backstage locker room split screen of Trinity and Deanna and Shaw and company getting ready and heading to the ring before we go to commercial break number 3. And then we come back to match number 4 of Trinity versus Evans. Evans music and entrance with Shaw and Jay. Trinity music entrance with Deanna. Evans in control most of the match with Trinity fighting from underneath and Deanna keeping Shaw and Jay at bay. Finish sees Trinity make a comeback and go up top before the fight between Deanna and gets into a fight with Jay and Shaw. Deanna accidentally causes Trinity to fall from the top rope. Evans picks up the win. And then we kind of do the same post-match shenanigans, but as we saw on the show with Jordan running out and getting written off.
Oh, okay. I ain't giving nobody a win over Trinity. Not here. No. I think that we should probably get into some kind of a schmoz and get it DQ'd and thrown the whole thing out. Because I don't want to beat Trinity yet.
That makes sense.
If she's going for a title at the pay-per-view after next,
that's a good point.
Like we have to give the people a reason to think she's going to win. If she loses to the loser, that's no good. Even though we're trying to do something for Savannah Evans, but in this way it protects her by not giving her another L, which she can't afford. Or she could just do something like they could just be like, fuck this match and just kick the shit out of Trinity and get disqualified that way.
That works.
Because number one, that's a heelish thing to do. Number two, it's keeping it. It's not like putting anybody under. So that would be my suggestion.
Right, and you can still have the miscommunication with like somebody like Deanna throwing a shot, somebody ducking, her popping Trinity.
Right. Yeah, I do like the idea if you want to put a little bit of intrigue going into the tag match, but we don't have to give anybody a loss going in.
Right.
So. I think that's a safe blanket generalization for a lot of pro wrestling is that we can use we used to use the DQ too much, but now we don't use it enough. I don't understand how it's got to be feast or famine with everything. Like, can people not do guys that have been booking wrestling for decades still not find a way to get like a happy medium of how things are supposed to be? I just don't see what's so difficult about that. It's like the situations you set up almost write themselves as to what the finishes should be. So, it's like, why do people struggle with that so much? Just a DQ is okay. People aren't supposed to like it. They're not supposed to like it. What do they care if it's a clean finish? That shit is fake. Anyway.
Yeah, I actually like that a lot better too. All right, so where are we at?
We're at the Evans and the new schmoz finish.
All right. So then we go backstage at Santino's office, and then we have the same segment that we had with them they had on the show. And then we cut to a backstage segment with Shaw Company in the hallway where they put over what they just did. And then a hit and run with Tasha where she lays out Shaw and gets away before anybody gets their hands on her.
Tasha's back.
All right, and then we go to match number 5, Callahan and Christ versus Subculture.
Oh, I was hoping we got rid of all these guys.
We got Subculture music and entrance, Callahan and Chris music and entrance with Callahan and Chris over clean, and then Design come out for a beatdown, and then Swan comes out where he takes a minute just like he did on the show. And then go to our 4th commercial break, and we come back with a backstage in the hallway with Callahan, Chris, and Swan, and they have the same conversation they had on the show. And then we have a Death Dolls vignette where they're on an adventure to find something to ward off the Coven's magic.
Oh, I see.
Just try and come up with something with the storyline and the gimmick.
Yeah.
And then they find something that causes them to have uncomfortable feelings of deja vu, and then they abandon their quest for now.
All right. Lab rat saying, bury all these guys in the desert. I assume he was talking about the Callahan and all those subculture, yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know if we were in Vegas for this taping, so.
And then we go to a Masha vignette where she talks about what she's going to do to Kelly at Against All Odds in the chain match. And then match number 6, Edwards versus Yuya. Same match that we had before, along with Kazarian running out. And then you go to a backstage with Motor City Machine Guns as they get ready for the main event. Backstage to the locker room where Bully and Macklin get ready for the main event, talk about what they're going to do. And then Moose walks in and says that they think they're going to eliminate everyone in the 8-4-1. They have an issue with Moose.
All right, okay. Little Moose is always good. A lot of Moose is always better.
And then we go to our last commercial break, cut to the announce table where they hype next week's show and run down the current Against All Odds card. And then we have our main event, Motor City Machine Guns versus Bully and Macklin. Bully Ray music and entrance, Macklin music and entrance, Motor City Machine Guns music and entrance. Shelley takes heat in matches. Most of the matches, Motor City Machine Guns getting beat down and refusing to get pinned or submit and continuing to fight from underneath. Motor City Machine Guns over DQ when Macklin stops Motor City Machine Guns hot tag comeback with a chair shot. Shira and Singh out to join the beatdown before Moose spears both of them, and then Moose runs down to the ring and brawls with Macklin and Bully as the show goes off the air.
Oh, all right. More Moose. I like it. All right.
Because wouldn't Moose? Because like if they're making their mission to eliminate everybody that's in their Bully's way, wouldn't Moose be like, fuck that shit?
Yep, I think Moose would. And even if he wouldn't, who cares? Let's just put him out there. Matter of fact, let's see if he can do commentary on some earlier matches too. Let's just get. In fact, we'll give Gia the night off and let Moose interview everybody. Like that. Let's just. You can't go wrong with me, at least, with adding Moose anywhere on the card as many times as repetitively as possible. None of those rules apply here. If you're talking about, you know what I was saying about how we should have some clean finishes but don't be afraid to use the DQ. That doesn't apply to Moose. If Moose is in a match, you can give him a clean win over anybody. I don't care who it is. All right. So there you go. There was your redo of, which one was this? 6-1?
6-1.
All right. So, and I guess that can just lead us straight into the actual episode of Impact that we got this week. Another go home for something that's, I'll be quite honest, it was basically like a commercialist version of an episode of Impact and longer. It didn't really feel like a big event. The staging didn't make it feel big. It just felt like another taping. So, so therefore this was sort of, I felt, a lackluster final show. But I didn't know how lackluster it was till I saw Against All Odds. But we'll talk about that next. Let's talk about this first. Before we get into it, is there anything else we want to bring up or discuss?
No, I think we are good. I think they officially wrote Jordan Grace off with that attack that Giselle Shaw did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she may not be back for the rest of her life. All right, so we're going to start with a recap like we always do. And we're going to open with Chris Bay versus Jason Hotch. And then they do that thing I was talking about where Myers says something and then the other guy says something. I'll be honest, I don't know which one said something. I assume it was Jason Hotch, but I was kind of I think I was putting dressing on my salad at lunchtime or something like that. So I had this in a small window while I'm making notes on my phone, like on the other thing. So I couldn't really see, but it doesn't matter. And then after Chris Bay wins the match, then he gets hit with their finish, their tag team finish, which they call the favor or something like that. Is that right? Is that what they call it? The favor?
The favor.
So another reference that makes no sense if you're not like a pro wrestling insider. If you're just a regular fan watching this, then first of all, what's wrong with you? Get a life. And then second of all, You're not going to get that, the reference. But yeah, the favor.
Is it just me, or does it seem like Job Squad 2.0 kind of?
It does, in the sense that you're exposing, at least with Job Squad, there was some ambiguity to it. But
Their debut, they actually did a thing where they flipped the script and actually like changed the finish on the fly, and that was a story that they changed the finish on them and they weren't expecting it, because I think it was Scorpio and Holly against Too Much, and they're setting up for like, remember the old death penalty that America's Most Wanted used to do?
What is it?
It was like they have the guy's legs around his waist, and then he sits it down, and then Storm came off with the leg drop.
Okay.
And Brian was going up, or Brian Christopher went up for the leg drop, and then I think it was Holly. They rolled up Scott, and then it was a shoot roll up. It looked like a shoot roll because the ref counted 1, 2, hesitated and then hit 3, and then it cuts to Brian Christopher still standing on the rope, and you can clearly see him mouth, "That was not the finish."
Okay. So they did a worked shoot, is what you're saying?
Yep. Oh. And then that was never really followed up on.
No, and it shouldn't have been. That's a terrible idea. Because that ruins every other match. It ruins literally every other match in the entire premise of the show. But, when you're just a fan and you don't know any better, it's like that kind of stuff. You look at that and the regular fans are confused, and like the insider fans are like, oh, that's interesting, because you always want to know more. You're always like hungrier to know more about what goes on backstage and stuff. So all that business exposing shit that ECW used to do, and and the stuff that Russo was liking to write and everything, it was very intriguing because it was like a peek backstage behind the curtain, and that's, but they didn't think about the long-term effects of it, which is what we're feeling right now. Like, because they've already ruined everything else, and just regular pro wrestling classic wasn't good enough. Now we have people like jumping off of things, through things, bleeding all over the place. Everybody's just trying to get people, they're trying to get people interested, and we're all desensitizing them. But none of that has anything to do with this. This is just Chris Bay winning a match. So did you have any thoughts on this match or any other things?
This match kind of highlights the problem of what we're seeing in a lot of wrestling matches. It's basically turning into call the spots and you know what's coming. Like if you see somebody like taking a kick or a forearm to the head, and then they go off the ropes, okay, it's going to get a counter or a duck or something.
Right. Yes, unfortunately, the old hit somebody and then run to the ropes thing has become, too ubiquitous. And you could probably thank Japan for that. But unfortunately, like most things, they take the thing from Japan and they kind of miss the point of it. So, and now it's gotten to the point where they do it so much in Japan that they miss the point of it. It's essentially, for those of you who are wondering, it's kind of like, it's just the new version of like when you would give a guy a tackle and then just go hit the ropes, Like the idea being like, okay, I knocked the guy down, now I'm going to hit the ropes and come off with like an elbow drop or a leg drop or a knee drop or something. Like, and then as you go toward the ropes, the guy goes towards you with the drop down to try to trip you, and then you jump over him, and then he leapfrogs you because he gets up just in time to avoid you running back at him. So you got to keep hitting the ropes, and then you come back, and now he's on the advantage because he's on his feet flat, and then he gives you a hip toss or whatever. Like, that's the universal spot. And that's what, has been considered like a high spot in wrestling for a long time. But now the new one is you like stop a guy, like give him a kick, and then you like turn your back to him and get ready to hit the ropes. So you do the same thing, except they're standing, right? So like now they don't have to drop down. They're already standing. All they got to do is fucking hit you with something. So it's the same idea, but it makes a little less sense because they're less incapacitated. Every once in a while, the guy will kick a guy, then go hit the ropes and come back and clothesline the shit out of him. So it does, but that doesn't work often enough that you expect that. It's more like, more like the other one too, where if a guy takes a tackle and the guy comes off the ropes, he's not just gonna hit a leg drop. They're gonna do drop down leapfrog. You always have to be. I mean, you don't have to be, because apparently you can just do whatever you want. But I'm just saying, like, you should be thinking of creative ways to get into the same stuff. It's not that hard. You just think about it for 10 seconds and you'll come up with something, or maybe you won't. Anyway, Heath is with Gia, no music underneath, and he is winning the belt, according to him. He's going to win the belt. All right. So thank you very much, Heath. Then we get another Dango vignette. Same as the other one, with him just saying, him playing the part of the crusty old, veteran with the, cigarette in his mouth and the fanny pack and all this stuff. So this is, if you liked the first time he did this, then you'll like this one too. Did you like this one?
I did like how he pointed out, like, the area where they shot the vignette of how terrible it is.
Yeah. So yeah, there was that. And then we get Champagne Singh versus Heath, because we just got to get a good strong win for Heath if we're going to believe that he's actually a contender for this championship that he claims he's going to win. So yeah. Well, Heath gets a wake-up call for the win. I don't really think there's any point in recapping this match too much. There was only one outcome. You're not going to take a guy that's supposed to be a number one contenders match like Heath and just beat him with the guy that is, kind of does, besides Swinger, does the joke jobs here in the company. So, yeah, any thoughts on this whole scenario?
I'm not liking it. Okay. Like, what happened to the whole thing with Singh, Shera, and Macklin? Where'd that go?
Nowhere. Perhaps we pointed out how it was kind of lame, and they decided that they agreed. Who knows? I don't really know. I didn't really like it to start with, and they didn't do anything to change my mind in the brief time they were doing it. So, and they didn't take your ideas because it was too late. So, I mean, there's really only one thing to do, and that was throw it in the trash.
Ooh.
Boo. Or yay. Design promo. So this is where they're like, they're saying stuff like, we're coming for blood. They're John Moxley. There's 3 John Moxleys here. They're like, we're gonna come after your family. We're gonna take everything from you. Like, that was their, they're saying all this sinister shit, and I'm just like, or you could do headlock tackle. I mean, either way. I mean, what's it gonna be, guys? Are you gonna live up to your promises here? If you're gonna go after somebody's family, that doesn't happen in the ring. So are we gonna send a camera crew to go film a crime again, or like, what are we gonna do here? Or is it just gonna be the design saying stuff backstage again and then headlock tackle? I mean, I don't know. We'll have to watch it against all odds to see. Yep. Ohio sucks, and you do too. Says Liz.
Yeah, this whole thing is just so bad. Like, if they had actually built the design as an actual credible threat and not had them be a bunch of stupid losers who fell for the simplest, most by the book angle with Callahan infiltrating them when it was... Yeah, this whole setup has just been bad. So bad.
Yep, it's been bad. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, maybe Champagne Singh should try to get involved with the design, and they can just talk about how lame this is. I don't know. Well, we get Joe Hendry versus Sheldon Jean. This was this for the Digital Media Championship? I don't remember.
No, but it should have been, because why not?
Yeah, I guess why not?
Especially if Henry's going over anyway.
exactly. Well, they mentioned something about like this is the second time they've had a match or something. So what was it? The title match the first time? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. This is just essentially, what is this, like a 5 minute match or something like that? It didn't last that long.
Right, and basically just a setup for the Dango video and pay off the heat from the broken nose.
Right. So Joe Hendry hits a standing O on Sheldon Jean. And then he calls out Dango, and Dango comes out, and then he tells him he figured out what's been going on, and then he plays his music video, which is a song about him, getting shot down by Summer Rae and who was the other person?
Eva Marie.
Eva Marie on Total Divas, and so the song, there's a Divas reject, I guess is what we'll call it. And the best part about this, because this was, I see this is just Joe Hendry's gimmick and everything. It's not as funny as some of the other stuff that he does. It's actually pretty cringe. But the worst part about this whole thing is the way that so Kenny King and Sheldon G sit around and just wait for the whole video to play out, and then they get in the ring and jump Joe Hendry and start kicking the shit out of him, and then Dango runs in. So they all sit there and watch this 2-minute video and do nothing while this is going on, which I get they want to play the video, but especially considering what happens later, this could have been a good opportunity to not sit there with your thumb up your ass and just wait for something to play before you. Because nothing really happened to Kenny King. I think he tried to interfere and maybe got bipped off the apron or something like that. There was, right. It's not like you need to be selling for all this. If you punch me in the face, I'm not going to sit there and watch you play your music video for 2 minutes and then get in the ring when it's done and start beating you up. So that whole thing was stupid. And then Santino comes out and Kenny and Dango just leave. Santino has got in the ring and they just left. They left Sheldon Jean in there, but Santino he didn't make a comeback on anybody. He didn't, he didn't start throwing punches or anything. He gets the Cobra out and, hits Sheldon with the Cobra. But yeah, that was kind of, well, I don't know. What do you want to, let's just say this needs a punching up for next week. Okay. This is not good. But yeah, that was that unfortunate whole segment. So what did you think of this segment? What did you think of the Divas Reject song and video? And are you already formulating ideas on how to fix this?
Oh man, this was not Hendry's best. He could have done much better. Yeah, it just did not click at all. And like you said, it made Sheldon and Kenny look dumb just sitting there oh, we're gonna stand here and watch the video play and not do anything.
Yeah, they do look dumb. Well, speaking of looking dumb, the Death Dolls are getting ready, and then we get Giselle Shaw. This is a vignette, I think, right? They have a thing where she says she's, her 3 finishers put Grace out indefinitely, because 1's enough to beat anybody, but 3 will put somebody out indefinitely. And now she's coming for Trinity and Dion. It was relatively generic, but it's what you can expect from Giselle. And then we get the Death Dolls versus the Coven, and Coven retain their Knockouts Tag Team Championships in this. I don't have any notes on the match.
Yeah.
Is there anything to talk about here?
It's kind of baffling why this wasn't on the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure.
You would think this is one that's had a lot more build towards it, and you'd put that on that show instead of free TV.
I'm a fan of getting like, when a pay per view has like it's going to be too stacked, and you've got a lot of matches. I'm a fan of like making one a main event for a TV show.
Yeah.
Like if you have the go home and it's like, well, we couldn't fit this on, but this is kind of like a sneak preview. It's a pay per view worthy match that was. The pay per view is just too damn stacked and we couldn't fit it on there. So here's this one, and that'll get you excited for, if you like this, you'll love Against All Odds type deal. So obviously, if that was some idea they had, they didn't trust these women to pull it off. But, so instead they get just like another regular match that did not go that long and nothing special happened. So I don't know, but you're right. There's no reason for setting all this stuff up with another dimension and Courtney Rush coming in and this whole weird thing and all this time they spent setting it up and then just meh. This match, I don't even know if this match was as long as the Sheldon Jean and Joe Hendry match. I have no idea,
and it was sloppy.
Sloppy, huh? Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I was barely paying attention.
I do find it kind of interesting that they have the supernatural occult storyline angle in characters they're written and directed toward children.
Well, there's a lot of there's people are putting a lot of stock in. You got to hook them young. It's been a wrestling tradition for a long time, and it's starting to make its way to other such things as well. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, I mean, whatever. This is the main problem. You have all this shit, you have all this set up, and what's your payoff for it? A fucking regular wrestling match that has nothing to do with any of the stuff that you did. Nobody's teleporting in the ring. Nobody's using any special powers in the ring. Nobody's even casting any witch spells in the ring. It's just a regular match, so why are we wasting our time with all this stuff?
Right. This would be like the perfect gimmick and character to do like the cinematic matches with.
Right. Which I also don't want to see, but damn, if you're going to do it, that's the place, or these are the people. Is Black Taurus going to turn into a My Little Pony? Yes. When is Crazy Steve going to turn into a regular blind guy? Yes. Look, I don't know, all right? What I do know is that we get a Alex Shelley package. In case we weren't sure that Alex Shelley was the greatest wrestler of all time, here's a package. And he lists all the people that he's influenced over the years, and now it's time for him to be unselfish, or to be selfish and win the big one for himself or something like that. And then we get Bert with Gia, no music underneath, interrupted by Bully. And Bully's like, you gotta worry about me because I'm gonna be the number one contender, basically is what he said. All right, so thoughts on the greatest wrestler of all time and Bert and Bully here.
I hated that Alex Shelley vignette. He came across incredibly arrogant and douchey. Like, I want to see this guy get his ass kicked.
Interesting. All right, and how about the Bully development? You see any intrigue in this with these two despicable heels that there's a possibility they're gonna have to face each other down the road?
Before I watched this, I knew the results of Against All Odds, so it's difficult for me to kind of get into this and this segment, so it just kind of went over my head.
Okay, fair enough. All right, on BTI, Masha beat up two girls with a chain. So there you go. If you're not watching BTI, you are missing chain beatings. And I guess this is where she says something about making it a dog collar match, even though they already advertised the dog collar match. So what, is she just agreeing, or like what?
That was what I got out of it. She was just like saying, I accept the stipulation.
It didn't look like she had a choice. It looked like the match was already made. But whatever. Because we talked about it last week. So they had a graphic and everything. They had a graphic for the dog collar match as soon as Kelly had her sexy vignette. So we're gonna get a sexy dog collar match, right? That's okay. So I'm glad they got Masha's permission to book her in our match. Then we get Trey Miguel versus Bhupinder Gujar. There was a time when you kind of thought they wanted to do something with Gujar. The time is clearly over because Trey Miguel dispatches him with little to no spray paint and and just beats him with the lightning spiral. Did he even cheat in this match? I don't remember.
He may have done some like dirty underhanded tactics, but like nothing too like dirty or nothing too
Painty?
yeah.
Okay. But anyway, he grabs the mic and says that everything about his career has been, yeah, but. So then he, basically says that, after Against All Odds with Chris Sabin, he's gonna, there's not gonna be any ifs, ands, or yeah, buts. And it was an okay promo, but again, if you already know the results somehow, or even like, it's almost like a baby face-ish promo, which I like that if you're a heel, like, because in a heel's mind, they are the baby face. So
yes, exactly.
So that part is not the problem. But it would have been stronger if, perhaps he more blatantly screwed Gujar out of the win. You know what I mean? Like if it was just so ridiculous and so cheating, and then he cuts a babyface promo like, why does anybody respect me in my career? Like that would have been better for a heel, I think. Now we get Swinger with Gia, no music underneath, and he talks about Zicky being in referee school. So now he's finally going to have one of these people in his back pocket, Daddy. That's basically what he's saying here. He makes a lot of references in this, too many for me to have, as I was like recapping this, like I'm usually got like trying to write my notes at the same time as I'm watching it, and it's like I can't make notes fast enough for all the references that he threw in there, but you know what to expect from Swinger at this point.
Now I'm wondering how they managed to keep this angle going, and now it's like, oh, get his guy in there as a crooked ref.
Right. Well, we'll see. Zicky wasn't here, so he was just referenced. But I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see what happens. Maybe as soon as next week, or later this week, as it happens. Then we get Trinity and Deanna with Gia and music underneath. There is music this time. And so it's like one of those sit down deals. And basically they're just saying the generic kind of stuff that you would say. And then Trinity says that you don't have to worry about her until Slammiversary. So there you go. There's your intrigue. So the intrigue that you saw Brandon build with his, with his rewriting of last week's show, they didn't do that, but they kind of tried to do a little something here, saying, with the Gia and the, are you guys going to be on the same page? Yeah.
And we saw that they were very much on the same page.
At least she didn't say coexist, I don't think. Anyway. All right. So stop me if you've heard this one. A moose, a swan, an octopus, and a treasure walk into a main event match. Yeah. This is your main event tag team match, so it is main event Moose. It's this is just taking a couple of each of the participants of the 8-4-1 match Against All Odds and seeing if they can coexist or be on the same page. It's Moose and Swan versus Jonathan Gresham and Nick Aldis here. So, what'd you think of this match? And how do you like this as a as a final look before Against All Odds, rather than anything involving Macklin, Shelley, whatever?
And I liked the concept of this match and what they did in it. I thought they should have ended it with the world title.
Okay. So this would be like your main event match, and then maybe finish with a little something between the two guys. Okay. Well, anything on this match then?
The stuff with Moose and Swan was pretty good. I like that because it made perfect sense. They would not be able to get along with each other, and Moose just get frustrated and say, "Screw this, and I'll do it myself."
Right. Anything else?
It was nice to see him go over and look great in it.
Yeah, Moose was great in this match. Like, everything he did was great. This is exactly why. It's like a validation for why when we talk about Moose, and then maybe some people are just like, I don't know, Moose. And then it's just like, this goes out there and proves why we're saying what we're saying. Because even though, even when he's not the focus, he will become the focus and make himself the focus. And even if it wasn't designed for him to be the focus, if you're watching him, then you're seeing a lot of stuff that you're not seeing from other people. He's really like put a little more intensity into the stuff that he's been doing with the screen time that he's had. Like, not to, obviously I would never want to denigrate the great Moose, but there are times when, like, his stuff doesn't look quite as crisp as it, it's not always consistently crisp. But he had like a lot of snap on his stuff, and his energy and timing were really good in this. But more so than that, more important than that, him being the heel here, and like just really being a dick to his partner, like forcefully tagging him in and saying, "You get in here and do it," or just, "I'll do it," or, just shoving Swan around and everything like that, really building to the finish or whatever. There was a great spot where they got a hot tag where they try to do a victory roll, and Swan, what was it? What did he? It was. I feel like there was a victory roll. I wrote down victory roll launcher hot tag from Swan. So it was like, but I can't remember who did it. I can't remember if he did it to Gresham or Gresham did it to him, but it was like a victory roll and then he jumped out. So like it might have been
Swan. It sounds like because he's got more of the ups for that than Gresham does, I think.
Right. So yeah, but anyway, yeah, it was cool. It was a way to get in without making the other guy take a bump. It was like a victory roll rolled through, and then he like jumped out, made the hot tag, and then So anyway, finally, Moose pins Gresham after a power bomb. And then, of course, as you would know, if you've ever watched wrestling before, of course, all the participants of the 841 match have to come out and get their shit in. And PCO almost died again. And I thought he almost died here, but oh man, wait till Against All Odds. So yeah, we go off the air with a little bit of chaos and whatever. So I don't know. Maybe that was more exciting than whatever Macklin and Shelley would have done. Even though, Alex Shelley is just the bastion of charisma, and I'm sure he could talk people into the seats and into ordering the pay-per-view. So that was that. That was a go-home show. What do you know? You think it's a good go-home show? What would you give it out of 10?
Probably a 4.
4 out of 10 for the go-home. Well, what are we going home to? We work hard all day. We work hard all day, and we sweat, and we break our backs, and we come home. What do we get? Against All Odds. That's the Against all odds, if you're going by the traditional, misogynistic, wife better have dinner on the table when I get home from work type of thing, and that being a good pay-per-view, then this was the equivalent of she decided to go out to the club tonight and she left you a TV dinner. That's what you came home to if this is the go-home show for Against All Odds. Brandon, did you get to watch Against All Odds?
I did.
Oh my goodness. It's always the odds are always 50-50 that Brandon will have seen the show. So, all right, the house does not win tonight. It's got a TV dinner, defrosting in the sink, but it's not. It did not win. All right. Well, we are going to start with the countdown as we're joined by Todd Brantley and Scott Woodford. Careful putting up Scott Woodford's comments, as his sexiness has been known to end streams prematurely. So, oh God, take it down. So yes, the countdown. We get Kylan King versus Nevaeh. Remember Nevaeh? No?
The name sounds familiar. Yeah, I knew she was there. I've seen a few matches. Other than that, I don't remember much.
I'm pretty sure Nevaeh is like a facial care product or some kind of cream or some soap or something like that. But apparently it's also a wrestler. So
sounds like some sort of like skincare cream or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Steve says, "Is it at least a hungry man? A whole pound of food men love." Yep. Remember that Booker T commercial? It's not great. It's so good, so good. Yeah, not
beefy.
Is that it? Is that what it was? No, you know what? I actually prefer to a cold hungry man. I would prefer a can of beefaroni, I think. So shout outs to Mick Foley, Mankind. No shout outs to this match. There's not much here.
Oh wait, yeah, Booker did do a beefaroni thing, because remember he did this spinaroonie. He called it a beefaroonie.
Oh yeah. Well, I had forgotten. I mostly remember the Hungry Man where he like kicks the door down and wife's like, "Hi, honey, how was work?" He's like, a few body slams, the usual. I'm starving. What's for dinner? Like that. It's great. All right. So, yeah, King wins here. Nothing really much to say. It's just a regular match. I'm not sure what was going on here, but is Nevaeh like a Columbus, Ohio local? I don't know. Yes. Todd Brantley and Elizabeth let me know that's Nivea. Yeah, I'm thinking of that. No, what I'm thinking of was a joke, but, there you go.
Work yourself into a shoot, brother.
Exactly. All right, then Santino comes out for commentary on Dango versus Hendry for the Digital Media Championship. So here we go. And we get, they replay the Divas Reject video in case you missed it. So you missed the free show, but you paid for this to see this. Or I guess this is still free since it's on the Countdown show. And again, Dango sits there and watches the whole thing. He just sits there and watches it. So there you go. And then they get in there and they have a match. And again, it's a regular match. And Hendry retains in the regular match. No .combat, no nothing. Just a regular match. No shenanigans. Joe Hendry wins. That's it. End of angle. I better not ever see these two in a ring again, because this wasn't even fucking close. This didn't even give you the inkling of an idea that Dango could beat this guy. So, we're done here. Okay. Any thoughts on that?
Nah. They should have done something with it. Like maybe put the belt on Dango.
Okay. I mean, yeah. That would have been something funny, because to go with his like cranky, old timer character, to have to have the digital media championship give you a chance to run down more things about social media and how, it's ruined wrestling and all this other stuff, even though as you're the digital media champion. But
it would fit his character too.
But nah. And Joe Hendry's not doing shit with it either. Nobody's doing anything with this digital media championship. So we're ready for the main card now. And we're going to open up with Frankie Kazarian versus Fat Eddie. So you get your basic wrestling match. It's sort of personal, but not really. It's just two guys that kind of have a little bit of a beef, and they're going to settle it in a professional manner. So, yeah. Lish gets ejected, possibly on purpose, because it's a spot where, Eddie's in trouble, and she grabs his foot and puts it on the ropes in full view of the referee, and he just kicks her out. So, like, maybe she was like, this is my one chance to get something to eat. So she purposely gets ejected, goes in the back, gets to catering, raids the fridge, whatever she can get her hands on, goes through people's bags looking for protein bars, whatever it is. This is her moment, so she possibly got ejected on purpose. And then the guys do the SummerSlam 92 finish where Frankie Kazarian folds Eddie up and pins him. So there you go. What'd you think, Brandon? Was this a solid opener?
Solid opener. Yeah, really not much more beyond that.
All right.
You got two guys who have been in the business forever. They know what they're doing.
Usually.
Mm-hmm.
Bye,
right. Alicia.
Bye, Alicia. Scott Woodford says, I was there. That's why she left. So Jacobs, Jimmy Jacobs is with Team Aldis, Survivor Series style. They're doing their thing on the Aldis gets his own interview set thing, but they got all four guys here. They kind of pass the mic around. When it gets to Bully, he's like, you guys just listen to me. I'm a million-time tag team champion. I know how to win these things. If you trust me, I will get you to that fatal four-way and blah, blah, blah. So just do what I say out there and then go on with the trust fest. And then, yeah.
To answer Todd's question, she turned heel, I want to say a few months ago when she was the driver. She was the one driving the vehicle that ran over PCO.
Yes. In a reveal that surprised absolutely zero people. It was actually a very soft reveal. I don't think they ever had one of those moments like, I was the driver. It was just
like, oh, it had to have been her. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's me. All right.
I like what they're doing with Bully, though, where he's kind of like doing the heel where he tells you exactly what he's going to do and what his intentions are and what's going on in his head right to you. Which is interesting because, like, in the terms of psychology, it's like when the heel does that, the babyface doesn't really know what to think. Like, are they telling me the truth or are they trying to screw with me?
Right. Yeah, I do like that. Here's what I don't like. Why does this guy have a job? Should have been fired 20 times since he's been there. So we get a package, and then the Good Hands with their typical entrance promo of Meyer saying something, and then another guy saying something about the town, versus the ABC. Yeah, I mean, it's about as like whatever you picture in your mind that this match could have been. That was it. That's what happened. My notes are. The baby faces tagged first on what I guess approximated a hot tag. It wasn't very hot, but like it was the only spot in the match where you were waiting for a guy to come in and make a comeback. So they made sure to ruin that by like getting the hot tag first and then the heel tagging out. Just very, very bad. Not something somebody that's whole gimmick is they're a good hand, which means They should know what to do at all times, and even if they don't get the glory, they should facilitate having at least a good match or making the other people look good. I mean, if we're going with that, and they don't even know how to execute a hot tag properly in a tag team match, so I guess that's out the window for their gimmick. But regardless, they hit that. Whatever they do, they hit both their finishers. So Ace Austin folds up one of these two, typical indie guys with the carrot haircut and the tights with the belt and the kick pads and the beard. Like, he gets folded up and beat. So ABC retains the Impact Tag Team Championships. What'd you think of this?
It was an all right match. I mean, didn't really do anything. Just another team for ABC to go over.
Yep. And there are very, very few of those. And as it is, the tag division is whack. So
yeah,
it's like
they got nothing there.
And nothing. More like the not so good hands, am I right? Says Todd Brantley. Yeah. That's a little nice. I'd say the bad hands is adequate. That'd be a good descriptor.
How about the jazz hands?
The jazz hands? They're as annoying as jazz hands. They're as cliched as jazz hands. Trinity and Deanna are with Gia, no music underneath. She asks if they're going to be on the same page. And Trinity's like, well, we got the matching gear, so obviously. All right, question answered. Very nice. They got matching gear. Package then. It's time for the sexy dog collar match. It's different than a regular dog collar match because this one's sexy. Not as sexy as Scott Woodford, but still, they're doing their best. Good hands look like 2.0 off of Wish. I don't know. You could just throw your you could throw a coin in the air and see which one's the Wish version. All right, so this dog collar match. Actually, nothing too crazy in this. It was good back and forth between Masha and Kelly. They were selling stuff rather than just moving on to the next thing. Masha really is good at slowing things down, I guess. Like, she doesn't rush from one thing to another. If she's in kind of, I assume she's kind of driving the car here, because that's just how it felt based on how the match played out.
And it felt like Kelly was like, all right, no problem. I'll follow wherever you lead me to.
Right.
Like, she
literally,
was like,
because they're chained at the neck. So I mean, we're going to see another match with garbage in it later, and this could have easily turned into that, but for some reason, I don't know what it is, because I don't think they teach this in Johnny Rods' school, but when Masha's in that ring, she seems very comfortable doing things and making things make sense. So she's applying whatever she's learned to even matches that are normally stuff that I just roll my eyes at. Like, when I see you're putting two women in a dog collar match, I'm sorry, I can't help but roll my eyes at the thought of that or what I'm going to have to watch. And this is probably the best match on the show, to be honest. Because it did sort of show you, they used the chain, but they didn't do it, like I said, anything crazy with the chain. So I liked it. Masha wins after wrapping the chain around Kelly's face a bunch of times, face, neck, and head, and whatever, and giving her the snowplow with it. And then, when she finally wakes back up, she sort of, Masha kind of like, she gives Kelly an endorsement of sorts, I guess is how you would call it. She kind of just licks her hand and then, like, I don't know, puts like a cross on her forehead or something, and then unhooks the chain and tosses it on the ground and walks out. So Kelly's kind of like, she loves me, she really loves me, and she's got that look on her face.
Yeah, after this match, I'm completely convinced they're going to be a tag team.
Yeah, you've been saying that, and this was like definitely on that path. Like it felt like it was on that path. So
Right, like this is where like Kelly like earned Masha's respect.
right, and like we were talking about the men's tag team division, the women's tag team division is even worse. So they need somebody to, you know, take on the coven.
Right, and having these two as just two ass kickers would be nice.
Yeah. All right, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Well, I'll tell you what happens on this show. We get another package, and then we get the Motor City Machine Guns with Gia and no music underneath. Shellens. Yes, Shellens. Alex freaking Shellens is wearing the leather jacket with the fur collar, just like a certain someone, a certain world heavyweight champion that we all know. Yeah. They say some generic shit, and then we get the X Division title match of Chris Sabin versus Trey Miguel. Trey Miguel is behind to start, but he almost catches up. And of course, I'm talking about his spray paint entrance and not so much the match yet. Yeah, that was weird. Then we get okay. So the story of this match here that these guys do is that they are using the signature moves of past X Division champions to try to win here. So whether that's a lethal combination from Jay Lethal or whatever, they're pulling out other people's playbook moves to try to win. So, which Todd Brantley asks, which women's tag team division is in worse shape right now? Impact or WWE? Impact, easily. They don't even have a division. WWE's tag team division is just undercooked and poorly booked, but they have enough women that they can have a real division with. Impact is just, they've been throwing people together and hoping that something can stick. And I wouldn't call it a division. It's almost like they make a team whenever they need challengers.
Exactly, you know? Yes. Or they pull one from like NWA or something.
Yeah. And then this last team that they made, they didn't even just so it wasn't Rosemary and Havoc for the Jessica. Just because so it wasn't Rosemary and Jessica for the fifth time, they changed Rosemary's gimmick to Courtney Rush, so it seems like it's a new tag team. That's the level they're at. WWE's got a bunch of people that are just sitting on the sidelines not getting used. So it's not that there is no division, it's just they refuse to use one. But I've already talked about this on multiple shows. Like, the tag team division across the board in wrestling is absolutely terrible. Nobody has a good tag team division. The most you could say is probably like the NWA, because they just had the Crockett Cup recently. But even that, they got to invite outside people and stuff just to have a tournament. It's not good. Tag team divisions are not good, and tag team wrestling is not good right now. But anyway, we're talking about the X Division right now, which also sucks. But anyway, so like I was saying, they're using other guys' moves. Trey Miguel tries to paint in the eyes, doesn't quite work out this time because Chris Sabin, goes out, makes his way outside eventually and washes it off with a bottle of water. And then he comes back in the ring, hits the Styles Clash for 2, and then he hits the clothesline from Hell, Michigan, as he calls it, and a cradle shock, and 1, 2, 3 for a flat ass finish. This was one of the more flat finishes I've seen in a long time, where the guy was like, Trey Miguel was on top with the cheating, and then the guy literally just went outside the ring, washed his eyes off, and came back in and fucked him up.
If they would have went with like finish it with the they catch him with the first can and then he pulls the second one out the first can was a diversion, then he pulls the second can out and went over with that would have worked.
Would have worked. And I don't even mind. Like, look, put the belt on Chris Sabin. I don't care. But when you pull the spray paint out, that's the high spot for the heel. So if they don't win after that, that means they got to lose after that. And this, like, he shut the whole thing down by like countering. He countered Trey Miguel blind. Like I don't remember exactly how they got into it, but he had him up on the top rope and in like in a fireman's carry, and I thought he was going to do the cradle shock off the top, which he should have. He should have just done it right there. He should have won blind. Like, he should have won with blinded, because it's Chris Sabin. It's essentially Goldberg 98. You could do whatever you want. Nothing can stop him. So why not just blind him completely and have him beat you anyway? What's wrong with that? That's way better than, in my opinion, and I'm not even being that sarcastic. It's way better than, okay, so he picks him up, and then what he does is he jumps down and like drops Trey Miguel on the top turnbuckle. Okay, so
that's so unsafe.
Right, very unsafe, but whatever. At least Trey Miguel is in control of himself at that point. So even though it's uncomfortable, he can safely take the bump as long as he knows what's coming and is ready. Then he goes while Trey Miguel's selling that, he goes outside, gets the bottle of water, washes it out of his eyes, then goes back in the ring. Trey Miguel tries something, and that's when he gets hit with the Styles Clash. He kicks out on 2, then clothesline, pick him up, cradle shock. 1, 2, 3. That's terrible. It should have been, he either should have hit the cradle shock off the top with the paint still in his eyes, or just skip the what do you call it? The Styles Clash altogether, and just have Trey Miguel miss something and hit him with the cradle shock. But the heel's got to get back up 1 point before the babyface eventually wins. There has to be that moment where you feel like the babyface is in jeopardy of losing, and then he pulls it out.
The dip.
Yeah, the dip. I was avoiding using the word because I didn't want to use too much technology or terminology. But yes, the dip. There's got to be a dip where the heel gets back on top and then countered. So they didn't have that. It was just all Chris Sabin at the end, and it just made Trey Miguel look bad. It didn't give him an out. Nothing. So, flat finish. 9-time X Division champion, Goldberg 98. I mean Chris Sabin. So, Brandon, what did you think of this whole match, all this stuff? Was it the right move to put the belt on Chris Sabin? Had Trey Miguel done everything he could do? Just your general thoughts on this whole situation, please.
I like the idea of them using finishers from previous X Division champions, because they did the whole thing of them talking about Trey disrespecting the lineage and the legacy of the X Division, so that made sense. But I think he still should have went over. He still should have went over Trey. After the second spray can, or the first spray can is a diversion, pulls out the second one and have him go over after that, with him looking like he still got one over on Sabin, and makes him look like even more of a dastardly heel.
Okay, so even though we have the finish we have in the main event, you would still book that?
I wouldn't book the finish in the main event the way we did.
But if we did, like, let's say that's your call, this match is your call, and that match is their call. Now what? Do you put Chris Sabin over, or do you keep Trey Miguel on top?
You could, if you're going to Sabin versus Shelley. Then you can pull up, go back to the well of Sabin or Shelley won his match, Sabin didn't, feel that animosity and that jealousy.
Okay, right. Also, it gives you as the viewer some doubt on Alex Shelley. Like, well, Chris Sabin didn't get it done. If Goldberg can't get it done, how the hell is, friggin', I don't know what his WCW in the 90s analogy would be in this situation. Scott Hall? I don't know.
Steiner?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Not sure. Labrat says, these young new champs need a chance too, Brandon. Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah. Yeah.
Chris Sabin got his first X Division title when he was a member of the faction known as Sports Entertainment Extreme.
It's a long time ago, guys. It's a long time ago. Well, he's got another one now. So there you go. The match was fine. You know, like that finish sucked. Like the finish was flat. So there you go. Okay, package. Then the 841 match. It's Moose. It's Rich Swann. It's Speedball Mike Bailey in his first match back in Impact. And PCO on one side versus Bully Ray, Jonathan Gresham, Heath, and the National Treasure Nick Aldis. So I'm pretty sure. You know how on the skirmish of the Go Home show, PCO does that low tope thing where he like kind of like cannonballs out of the ring under the rope or whatever. And like he almost landed on his head outside the ring. Well, this time he hit his head on the apron. He didn't even get to flip all the way over. He just hit his head on the apron and bounced and flipped over. So he's getting worse. And that's kind of what I was noticing. It's what I've been noticing, but even watching this match, I'm seeing it even more. Like he looks like he's having a little more of a struggle just walking around or getting around the ring. He's still taking all the same bumps, but they all look dangerous, even more so than usual. They look out of control. I'm worried that somebody else is going to get hurt. Like on any of these things where they got to catch him, he's not going to be where he should be. Like if you're doing a spot where you're jumping through the ropes and flipping and some guys are going to catch you, they're expecting you to be at a certain height, coming at a certain angle or whatever when you do that. And if they have to try to adjust themselves to like protect you from dying, they might get hurt. Like they could tweak their knee, roll their ankle, or worse. So.
And it makes it look bad because why did you run towards the guy instead of letting him fall and hurt himself?
Exactly. Everything about it sucks. So, any case. The match was the match. Moose was in it, so that's all I was really watching the whole time. I just watched Moose. Even when he's just standing on the apron, I'm watching Moose. I don't really care about anybody else. The finish is, for this part of the match anyway, he spears... He's trying to spear Jonathan Gresham, who's like going back and forth, like they're standing switches with Rich Swann, and Moose spears Rich Swann after one of the switches, so he spears the wrong guy, and then he's like, oh well, and then he goes to spear Jonathan Gresham, and Gresham sidesteps, and he goes flying out of the ring, and then Gresham just pins Rich Swann, who is just speared by Moose, and then that brings us to the 4-way match. So now you got, what is this? You got Bully, Gresham, Heath, and all this. That's what Bully said was going to happen, even though he had nothing to do with the finish or deciding the match. But he still said, "Trust me, I'll do it." And then they start out the match by everybody running a train on him and beating the shit out of Bully, which that is exactly how I would have said you should do it. They even did the "was up" spot, where everybody held a leg, and Jonathan Gresham came off the top with a headbutt.
And that was the most personality I've seen Gresham show ever in a match.
Yeah.
Like they cut like the camera shot was from the back of his head, and you could tell he was having fun with it, even from the back of his head.
Right. So there you go. And then later on in the match, they do some stuff. Who cares? Later on in the match, Bully's going to use this chair, and all of a sudden Scott D'Amore walks out. He grabs the chair out of Bully's hands, and Bully's like, "You're not going to hit me because you don't have the balls." And then he hits him with his back turned. Like Bully turns his back as if to say, like, you have so few balls that I can turn my back and you won't hit me. And Scott D'Amore hits him. And then, eventually somehow that works into where Heath gets in the cloverleaf from Aldis and taps out. So Aldis wins the 4-way match. He is the number 1 contender. And there you go. So thoughts on this whole intriguing concept of 841?
It seems like every month they try to pull out like a brand new type of like number 1 contenders match. Just put stuff together. It's like whatever they can pull out of their butt.
Yes. Yes, they do. And what'd you think of this one?
I mean, it was interesting. It was different. I don't know. I thought this was one of their better ideas.
This is one of those ones where the character work is more important than what actually happens in the match.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Like
when you have the odd couple partners.
Right.
And I thought Bully and Moose did a great job in that role.
Yes. So, I mean, the main point was that we know who our number one contender is for Slammiversary. I didn't really think there'd be too much doubt that it would be Nick Aldis, but that could shine a light on maybe the long-term plans, because they're not really taking their time with it. He said he'd be willing to work from the bottom up, but that's just what his character's saying. Maybe he's like, nah, about right now. So, here we go. We'll see what's going to happen, but that's what's set for now. I don't know if anybody else is really left with anything. Obviously, Bully and Scott D'Amore are going to be, they're going to have a match. It's going to happen. It's probably going to happen at Slammiversary. It's probably going to be Bully Ray versus Scott D'Amore in a match at Slammiversary of some kind. Just most people would just be like, I'm sorry, you're fired. That's it. I'm not dealing with you anymore. But not pro wrestling, baby. You imagine if what I don't know who's the Major League Baseball commissioner. I don't even fucking know. I don't know anymore. But imagine if somebody just hit him with a baseball. One of the players hit him with a baseball bat, and was just like, how dare you find me for whatever, spitting on an umpire? I don't know. What do baseball players do these days? I don't know. Baseball's lame, so I don't really watch it anymore. But the point is, if you saw like a player attack the commissioner, that player is not going to be like, oh, I'll show you. Every time that you're up to bat, I'm gonna have the I'm gonna have the opposing team put in their closer or whatever and strike you out. Like, no, no, dude, you only get one strike instead of 3 strikes. Like, what? No, that's not what happens. The guy gets fined, suspended, or kicked out of the league. That's it.
And probably some charges pressed.
Right. So if you don't want to go that route, then you just scale back the heel's actions to where it's not fireable. You make him somebody that people don't like, but didn't technically do anything illegal or, whatever. But once you've assaulted multiple people that you have no business assaulting or non-wrestlers, then you're just not, you don't get to work there anymore. It's not like he's drawing some kind of huge numbers. It's not like Bully Ray is packing these small ass venues to the rafters. Okay. These are like glorified VFWs, they're like bars, like the fucking, that place in Toronto that looked cool is like basically a converted bar or club. These aren't arenas here. So don't act like Bully Ray means anything to this product. You could fire him and not lose any money. The reason they gave for Vince McMahon not firing Steve Austin was that he sold too much merchandise and made the company too much money. So that made sense.
And they said that on air too. He makes me too much money. I don't want him as my champion, but he makes me too much money.
Right. So I'll just make him miserable, because if he loses the championship, he's still going to make money. So I just won't have to pay him as much. Like that's the theory, right? It's still stupid, but it makes more sense. So whatever. Javi says he thinks it's Jack Tunney. He's the commissioner. The deceased former WWF president is the commissioner of Major League Baseball now. All right. So, well, that would explain a lot. Anyway, so yeah. So Gia tracks down Burt Macklin to ask if anything changes now that Nick Aldis is the number one contender. Whatever he said basically amounted to no, it doesn't. He boringly said that nothing changes. All right. Then we get a package. And then we get Giselle Shaw and Savannah Evans versus Deonna Purrazzo and Trinity. Yeah, this was a match. It actually started out okay and then it fell apart. This was like one of those ones where I was like watching it somewhat, focused on this. The people were constantly out of position. There was multiple chances for like the heels to kind of cheat and get some heat, and they just didn't do it. Like there was a part where Giselle kind of took, I want to say was it? Well, it doesn't matter who. She took one of them over to the corner and was choking her, and then the ref pulled her off, and then Savannah Evans just stood there doing nothing while the referee was sort of drawn, and the referee didn't stay drawn. So she just went right back to looking at the other person instead of and it was I'm pretty sure it was that tall lady ref. So, you're not, the heels aren't really making the most of their opportunities, but besides that, everything was just everybody was slightly out of position, slightly sloppy. Not so much. Yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't. There was an unnecessary second set of heat. They had to make sure that both of the baby faces got a comeback in this, and I don't think that was necessary considering the length of the match and what they were going to do. Just like the X Division match, the finish came out of nowhere and was flat. It almost looked like Deonna Purrazzo felt this match was the shits and just decided to end it on the fly. Because all she did, she did one of those Mahishal cradles on Savannah Evans and just pinned her. And it's that's not a move that you would use to pin Savannah Evans. That's not a move that you would call at that point in the match. That's not a move I've ever seen Deonna Purrazzo win with. So it's almost just she's like, fuck it, let's just go home. This sucks. Before somebody gets hurt, let's go home. It's almost like that. It felt like that. I could be overanalyzing it, but nothing about this felt like it was clicking after the first maybe 2 minutes. It just went off the rails, I think. I don't know if it was anybody's fault. It could have just been one of those things where it just didn't get on track. Yeah, it just didn't get on track or whatever. Yeah, so there's a afterwards between Deonna and Trinity, there's this moment where they try to get the beat down on Deonna afterwards, of course. And Trinity had been taken out at that point. Yeah, that's what it was. I remember now how they got into it, because they did a thing where it looked like Deonna would have wanted to tag Trinity, but she's not like she was going for the tag. She was busy doing her own thing, and then Giselle went around and pulled Trinity off the apron, and Trinity took a bump. And then it was shortly after that Deonna got the cradle pin. So it was what is the point? Why'd you knock her off the apron? It was just so she would be selling when they started kicking the shit out of Deonna. That's why they did it. So it was 3-on-1 versus Deonna with Jay and Savannah and Giselle beating her up. And then Trinity comes back in and clears them out. And then they both clean house. And then they're left there, and Deonna goes for the handshake, and Trinity looks at it for a second, but then she gives her the handshake and pulls her in for the hug, and then they do some booty shaking, and then they get out of there. So if you want to see Deonna shake her booty, there you go. Thoughts?
They continue to make Shaw and that group look like a complete non-factor. When was the last time they won a match? And the last time I can remember any of them went over in a match was when Jay went over Swinger.
Hey, I'll take
it. They just seem like such a non-threat, and just, I don't know. And this is an opportunity to give them a win. You had the whole thing where they could have the miscommunication with Deonna and Trinity to put more heat on their match leading up to Slammiversary.
Well, they didn't do that. They're friends. And they shake their booties. So, there you go. What would you give Deanna's little booty shake out of 10?
I'll give it an 8.
8? Okay. All right. Now, speaking of booty, we get a package, and then our match with the Design versus OVE in a street fight. And their third partner ends up being Madman Fulton,
who looked like he was in great shape.
Hmm. Yeah, he also looked like a professional wrestler. Whereas the design all came in like street clothes, like with jeans, and they look dressed for the Bunkhouse Stampede in this. But the OVE guys were wearing their wrestling gear, so geniuses. Now, in Callahan's defense, none of the stuff he wears looks like wrestling gear anyway, so he would show up like this. But I think Chris had those tights with the belt. He should be a member of the Good Hands. So yeah. So Fulton was so excited to be back that he almost he tried to get in the ring before they could do their pose on the apron. Like they were supposed to stand on the apron and do the thumbs up, thumbs down. And like right when they all got up there, he started to like put his leg in the ring, and then he got back out because he forgot he had to do the pose. That's how excited he was. So this is your typical garbage match. Not only did they use garbage, but it was garbage. It's just guys hitting each other with stuff and whatever. It's the same stuff you always see.
Yep.
Oh, except this one, there was Jake Chris had like a barbed wire wrapped rolling pin, and he had Diener on the outside, and he took that rolling pin and he just rolled it down the back of his shirt. And it was never used again.
Lame.
Yeah. Callahan wins with a pile driver on Diener, so. With this holding a man's shoulders to the mat for 3 seconds, I hope that this blood feud is finally over. There's no coming back after a person has held you down for 3 seconds. You really just can't even show your face anymore. Especially after all that stuff that you said about coming for blood and coming to take a man's family and, take everything from him. Like, that's what they promised. They promised possible kidnappings and robberies and maybe even implied some murder because we know he's capable of it. We still haven't seen Eric Young. So all that, but Sammy gave you a wrestling move and held you down for 3 seconds. So sorry, you're done. That's it. We're through. Case closed. That's all I can say. What do you have to say?
This whole thing is just a lame waste of time.
Yep. What did this do for, like you were saying, what does this do for the design?
Does
never
nothing
won a
for
significant match.
Doesn't do anything for anybody.
It got Madman Fulton back. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. Lab Rat says Sammy looking like Bundy. And like Ernie the Big Cat Lad used to say, you're stealing from the man, Sammy. But, yeah, I leave these type of matches to Masha Slamovich, in my opinion, and I don't know, Sammy Callahan can get a job as, like, I don't know, a beanbag chair or something. Whatever he would do. I wouldn't want to sit on him, but he might contract something. You might become a worse wrestler if you sit on the Sammy beanbag. I don't know, man. I just don't know. I don't know who likes this. Who likes this? Who was hyped for this match? Like, even among Impact fans, like, who was sitting there? I gotta watch one of these, like, I gotta sign up for like 1 month for like the Impact Plus thing and watch the pay-per-view on YouTube live, even though that's never going to happen. But like, I can go back and watch the replay, I guess. And I want to see what the people are saying in the comments, like when it's live happening. Like I want to see what people are saying and then write some of them down and bring them on the show so I can show you what marks they are. But like, who could have been happy with this? Even amongst all the other, like, you had a chain match on the show, which I know that's a little bit different than this. A dog collar match is a little different than this. Plus, it was sexy, so there's that. But like, you know, they did a better version of this type of match. And when Masha's done these type of matches, they were better, more psychology-based versions of these type of matches. So, you know, at this point, I would just be like, you know what? She can do that. I'll just do something else. I don't know. But yeah. And then we're here now. We get a package, and then we get the main event. It is Alex Shelley versus Burt Macklin. I'd like to remind you all that you can get your Yup t-shirt at shopimpact.com. Much like all of the Rock shirts in the 90s, it's just a black shirt with the big white letters, Yup, and a period. So if that's how you want to spend your $20 or whatever it costs, between $20 and $30, you want to buy a Yup t-shirt and have everybody look at you and be like, what's that? Then shopimpact.com. So Brandon, I watched this match because unlike you, Alex Shelley's vignette from the Go Home show of Impact inspired me. I mean, he talked about all these great wrestlers that he had a hand in helping to create. And I was like, you know what? I talk a lot of shit. I should show some respect, and I should watch Alex Shelley because this is his moment, and I should be here for it. I shouldn't just be on my phone while he's on the screen. I shouldn't just be like, you know, off to the side reading the internet or comics or playing a video game or do whatever I do that I want to do whenever he shows up. Like, I should actually watch his match. And as a 20-year veteran, I should see what he brings to this table when he's going to win the championship. Because like you, I saw the results before I watched the match. So I already knew. So I was like, all right, I'm going to watch this match. I'm going to try to be as objective as possible and watch this match. And maybe I have been unfair. And I'm here to tell you that perhaps I have not been unfair enough, because when I watched this match, what I saw was the same Alex Shelley that I've always seen. The one that drove me to be on my phone or reading the internet or playing video games or whatever other things I might be doing. Folding laundry, whatever's more interesting when he's on the screen. All those years ago that I already made my mind up to make me like this. And I had thought maybe just like when you come back to something that you haven't visited in a while and revisit it, you have like a new appreciation for it. You know, like maybe you saw a piece of art you weren't ready to see as a young person, but now as an older person, you can see this movie or you hear this song or whatever, and it means something more to you now that you're older and have more experience, or whatever the case may be. Or in the case of an artist, you can see how they've grown and how they've matured and how their work has changed for the better and improved and evolved, you know. But when I watch this match, I see the same old things that I've always seen. And the only difference is that Alex Shelley looks a little older in the face. That's the only difference between what I'm seeing now. Like, these exaggerated facial expressions that he does. Like, anytime that something happens, or like the body language that he uses. Like, where he's constantly, like, he's doing this thing and making this face, or, like, you know, like brushing his hair or whatever, like he's doing to let people, hey, I'm doing something. I'm not just sitting here. I'm doing something. I'm moving. I'm excited. I'm hyped up. I want you people to get hyped up. I'm looking at the crowd making the big stupid face, you know. Like, it's almost like a parody of pro wrestling or a pro wrestler. Remember how when you were like a kid and you and your friends would like joke wrestle around and stuff, and you'd like give each other like the big fake elbow drop or whatever, you know, like that's what watching Alex Shelley is like. It's like he never grew up from being that kid who was parodying pro wrestling. Not that when he's doing the moves that he looks like that, but it's everything else, like, as people call it, the in between. You know, like like when he's walking around or whatever, he looks like he's making fun of pro wrestling. He looks like it's not like a serious contest. At no point do I ever feel like he's ever taking this shit seriously. It just feels like he's goofing around and waiting to get to the next shit. He never really sells believably. You know, like when Macklin is trying to like put some heat on him or whatever, he's selling like it's cartoonish, like, again, with the exaggerated facials. And he doesn't sell for long, which that's not really selling. You know, like if you, there comes a point where the heel's got to get over at some point, and you got to think, oh shit, this guy's in trouble now. You know, like that's the idea of a standard pro wrestling match. So Alex Shelley should be like basically really beat down and looking like he's struggling to stay alive, let alone I'm just going to take a move from Steve Macklin and stay down for a couple of seconds and then I'm going to get back up and do a counter. You know, like that's not selling. That's just, you're just waiting for your turn. You know, like I'm not, he has a chance to, like help to make, you know, Steve here. Like he has a chance, even if he's going over, he's got a chance to like, because even though he's saying like he's helped enough people, that's in a kayfabe sense of like, you could still say that, like you're talking about the baby faces that you either inspired or coached or whatever it was, you know, but like in a shoot sense, you still have to make your opponent in the match, especially if you're going over. You got to make it seem like you really beat somebody. You got to make it seem like you overcame the odds. You got to make it seem like this guy, I escaped with this win by the skin of my teeth. And this match made Macklin look basically like a joke. Made it look like he should have never been the champion. You know, like he didn't sell any of Macklin's shit really. You know, and like I said, taking the move and staying down is not selling. It's like, you have to take the move, stay down, and make the people believe that you're legitimately in trouble or hurt by what he's doing. And you got to let Steve Macklin stay on top for quite a while. You know, you don't just keep getting up and doing hope spots and fighting back and everything like that. That's not like a main event level move. And maybe this works in tag team wrestling for you, but it's not the way it's supposed to be done, really. So, with all that being said, you're not showing real respect for your opponent because you're not putting his shit over, and you're going over anyway. So you basically took 60% of the match, and you went over, and it made it seem like, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't he go over? He said he was the greatest wrestler who ever lived, and he is. He didn't even break a sweat beating Macklin. I'm surprised he didn't fucking have Macklin tap out. Like the way the match was going, I was like, you know, why don't you just have him tap out? He basically stopped short of putting a foot on his chest. Like, and I'm not saying that Macklin is some guy that deserves, you know, that sort of a treatment, or that he's had some kind of glorious championship run or something that's worth protecting. I don't really care. It doesn't matter what happens to Macklin. I mean, you could argue that he never would have been the champion or never should have been the champion. You give Alex Shelley the belt. That's fine. You want to give Alex Shelley the belt? Why not? Who cares? It's your company. Do what you want. I don't have a problem with that. But in the match, Alex Shelley Alex Shelley showed me who he always was. That's my point. And I've been right to say the things that I've said. And I don't feel guilty about it. And even though he's put in the work and the time, and I respect that part of it, he should be way better than this at this stage of his career. But I guess he just doesn't know. So I'm sorry I took that entire buffet table of food and left you a few scraps. But, I mean, I'd love to hear what you thought about the booking and the match and everything.
Nah, you pretty much nailed it. It just seemed like they kind of killed the Macklin experiment before, like, he had a chance to really do much with it. Just thinking, because I remember there's an interview that Bully Ray gave where he mentioned, like, they took the title off him and put it on Saban for political reasons. This seemed like it was a political move.
Well, it's definitely a political move. I mean, the fact that the Motor City Machine Guns still exist, have a career, and are on top in Impact is political. It's almost just like, well, they're the veterans. We gotta do something with them, and they decide to do this. So, but anyway, continue.
And at least they had the exposed turnbuckle play into the finish. At least that made sense.
Yeah, I guess so.
Other than that, though, I just, I was not a fan of this.
So, the question is now, if we're looking at Slammiversary, this is Nick Aldis versus Alex Shelley?
Yep.
Is that a more intriguing match than Steve Macklin versus Nick Aldis?
I would say no. I think there's actually more meat on the bone if you did something with Macklin and Aldis.
Especially if, for example, like, this could have been a time where, I understand if you want to have a feel-good moment and the clock's running out on Alex Shelley. But not only was this barely better than a episode of Impact, like as far as a pay-per-view, this felt so small time. So it's not even like a real big moment for him. It's not on one of their big stages, like a Slammiversary or a Bound for Glory or whatever. It's just one of these secondary pay-per-view events. It's like, oh, you're the champion now, Alex Shelley. It didn't even feel like a big deal. So you didn't even get the most out of it that you could by making him the champion for the first time. But now you've taken a guy that has nothing really to do with any of the main event players, and you're having him inserted into this main event picture as champion. So, okay. Who am I supposed to root for here? Like the feel-good story of Alex Shelley becoming the champion, I want him to, lose to Nick Aldis, who just strolled back through the front door and got a title shot? Like, is that how I'm supposed to feel about this? Or could we have had Macklin do something like, not only did I beat Alex Shelley, but I fucking crippled Alex Shelley, and he's going to be on the shelf for a while. And now people are going to be like, that's going to get me some heat. And now people are going to want whoever to beat me for this belt. And if that's not Nick Aldis, then, whoever it'll be is great. But since it is Nick Aldis, I'm going to cheer for Nick Aldis. You're going to make a babyface out of Nick Aldis. Are you going to turn heel Nick Aldis for this? Why? Why would you do that? So that doesn't make sense. Why would you make Alex Shelley a transitional champion?
Right.
Macklin, at this point, the way you treated Macklin, he's a transitional champion. He just won it because Josh Alexander wasn't there. So essentially, he's a transitional. So you go from a transitional to a transitional?
Right.
You just fucked him. You fucked them both. You fucked Alex Shelley because you made his title win mean less. And you fucked Steve Macklin because his title reign meant nothing at all. It was like they put the belt on him just so he could have the feel-good moment where him and his wife both won at that pay-per-view. Then you got this feel-good moment where, you know, this ain't Benoit and Guerrero, okay? When Chris Sabin comes out and hugs Alex Shelley, this felt so small time. Like I can't even put into words how small time this felt if you didn't see it. So, I mean, you minimize this moment just so you could have a moment. I don't know. I feel like if you're just trying to put belts on people to make moments, you should save those for bigger moments. I don't think you should throw them away on secondary pay-per-views. Yeah, just give the belt to Moose. Meanwhile, you got Moose out here acting like a champion in 8-man tag matches, you know, working like a main eventer. You know, I understand that, like, I'm biased towards Moose. I get that. However, I'm biased for a reason. You know, I'm biased for a lot of people. I don't always say they should always be the champion of every company. I don't say everybody I like should be the champion. I'm saying Moose should be the champion here because he's the clear choice and he's the one that's acting like a main eventer. Alex Shelley's acting like a lower mid-card guy with this match. Like, this would have been the kind of match you would expect Chris Sabin to have with Trey Miguel, where he's never in any real danger and it's the old guy schooling the young guy. Like, that's not the match you're supposed to have for this. This match is supposed to be, I'm past my prime, but I'm giving it one more shot. And this guy's in his prime, and he's probably going to kill me. And then you win, and it shows that experience counts for a lot. But this other guy is still good and dangerous. Like, that's the match you're supposed to have. I didn't get that story from this match. No. So, yeah. Nothing they do makes sense. And I will give them the benefit of the doubt that there are things at work here that I don't understand, and that made them make the decisions that they are going to make, you know. But if it's up to me, if I'm going to put the belt on Alex Shelley, I wouldn't have had Macklin win the title to begin with. Like, if I knew that far back that I was already going to put the belt on Shelley, I would have had Kushida win. Because now you got an interest with Kushida and Shelley as the partners. Like, am I going to win my first Impact Championship against my friend and partner? Like, that's, for what we're doing here, that's more interesting. I'm not saying it's the best, and maybe they would have done that, but because of Kushida's availability and having to go back to New Japan for the Super Juniors thing, he couldn't be around on the, you know, to be the champion. So, like, that could be a reason. Maybe that is something they would have wanted to do if Kushida were available. But so maybe they're just making the best that they can with what they have, and maybe they're making last minute decisions and changes, and maybe they're agonizing over this stuff because it's their job and I'm just sitting here doing a podcast. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I'm not going to put the booking on them like super, like I'm really cracking down on it, but I am saying on any given night, the decisions that you make, you have to do the right thing for those decisions. So if they come to Alex Shelley and tell him, you're winning the belt, kid, then Alex Shelley, it's now on you to win that belt in a fashion that makes Steve Macklin look good and make yourself look good too. That is your job on that night. And if after 20 some years in the business, you don't know how to do that yet,
why are you putting the belt on you?
Bingo. But that's that. It's too late. What's done is done. The greatest wrestler of all time is now your Impact World Champion. And we'll go from here. See how they follow this up. But yeah, that's that looks like it's about our show. Brandon, do you have anything else for the people? Any final thoughts on Against All Odds? A rating out of 10, perhaps?
2.5.
2.5 out of 10. That's worse than the Go Home show. Did all 2.5 go to the chain match? And Moose?
Yep.
All right. Well, I won't ask you to split that 2.5 between them and say which one each got, but that was your thoughts on it. All right, so well, tell the people where they will be able to find more of you.
You can always, as always, find me on Twitter at TransArchusTia, as well as twitch.tv/MissTia the Transarchus, as well as my new Substack at HMG Brandon.
That's right. Now, when you post the Punching Up Impact on Substack, what day do you usually do that?
On Monday, right before we go live.
Okay, so it's not like they can get a sneak preview. They have to see it basically live, right?
Maybe a couple hours beforehand, depends on what time I get it
It's
done.
a couple hours sneak preview. All right. All right. So yeah, that'll do it. And for me, of course, you can find me every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, except maybe this week some things are up in the air, but we'll let you know what's going to happen with the Next Level Wrestling Review, because Big Ray thinks it's more important to have a wedding anniversary than to do a podcast. So we'll figure out what's going on with Next Level pretty soon. But for that, you'll just stay tuned to HMG and keep your notifications on. As for me, you can find me at Opinion Haver on all your favorite social media platforms, where I might let you know what's going on as soon as I know what's going on. Yes, so there's that. There's twitch.tv/Opinion Haver. Don't forget to tune in to True Crime Tuesday tomorrow. We're playing some more LA Noire, and we're going to see if the chat can help me solve these cases on homicide. And
187, Brett.
Yes, not that homicide. Everybody wants Gary to replace Big Ray. That could be interesting. But Gary might also be booked. We don't know at this point. Yeah, you gotta book Gary quite a bit in advance. It's a little short notice to book Gary, but yeah. What else do we got? Wrestling with Rip Rogers every Friday, except when it's not. Just like this time, it was on Thursday last week. So you never know. But you stay tuned to Wrestling with Rip Rogers. Subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment, all that good stuff on Wrestling with Rip Rogers on YouTube. Plenty of good content there. They talked about the Iron Sheik. Rip has stories about the Iron Sheik, so you can go check that out right now. The Great Iron Sheik. Did you have anything to say about the Iron Sheik, Brandon?
Man, it's just a shame that he passed, because he managed to keep himself like in the public eye long after his like career had ended.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's just such an iconic wrestler that people knew even if they didn't watch wrestling. They knew of the Iron Sheik. Yeah.
Interesting story. He kind of married into my father's in-laws.
What?
Yep.
Oh man, we're gonna have to save that one for next week.
I don't really have any like weird stories. Like whenever we go up to Minnesota, like he'd introduce me like, hey, like the Iron Sheik married his like, you know, I forgot what the relation was to the person, but he introduced me and like they shared a few stories of like, you know, just them hanging out with each other.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that. Well, find out new stuff all the time. So, all right, where was I? Wrestling for Rogers. Stevie Richards. Follow Stevie Richards everywhere. Instagram, YouTube. He's doing the Big Fitness Show with Big Mike Barons. They're just rolling along. He's got his video of his new truck. Like, he's got all kinds of cool stuff out there. Still doing reviews of exercise equipment and things. He was trying to save you money on Memorial Day sales. I mean, this man, Stevie Richards, cannot be stopped, nor should he. So, follow Stevie Richards. And I guess that's all. That's going to do it for me. And so for myself and for Brandon, I don't have a sign-off line.